Yeah. So I want to talk about China, man. I want to talk about China. I remember my boy was telling me something about China. Yeah, like they wrote down a 100 year plan. They wrote down a 100 year plan. Yeah. Obviously, looking online, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like they've said, it's not a documented thing. It's not legit. Do you get what I mean? But obviously, when you deep it, we live in the West. So let's say, for instance, that China did write a 100 year plan. How are we gonna know? And even if it is real, why would the West, tell us like, China do have an 100 year plan? Because where would this be found? If I live in England, or let's say I live in the States, let's say my boy lives in the States or lives in England, where did he get that information from that China having a 100 year plan? So obviously people could look at it and be like, it's conspiracy and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe it's conspiracy. But what's not conspiracy is that they did actually have a plan. And apparently China plans in centuries. Do you get what I mean? So that's where all this talk of a 100 year plan has come from, and all this talk and all this blah blah, all this red tear. But long story short, the reason why I want to talk about China, innit? Like the reason why China came to my mind, yeah, was last week. Was it last week? Yeah, I think on Friday. Like I saw a trailer come out. I think the trailer came out on a Thursday, last Thursday. So what? Tomorrow's the 12th. A week before that was the 5th, right? So I think the trailer came out on the 4th. I think the trailer came out on the 4th of December, last Thursday, and it's to do with a game. Obviously, I like video games. The game's called the Godslayer. Now, obviously, if you don't know about like the Last Airbender and all that kind of stuff, yeah, the Chinese developed a game, bruv. That's like the Last Airbender, bro. Like my man was coming like Zuko in that thing, bruv, in the Godslayer. If you see the way the game was moving, so smooth, bro. Obviously, these men have released Where Winds Meet. They're gonna release the Godslayer. They're gonna release what Phantom Blade Zero next year as well. Like China are just going in. Do you know what I mean? They're just going in. And then this now made me think, oh yeah, remember what my boy said as well about the 100 year plan. Obviously the 100 year plan has nothing to do with games, but it has to do with China. And it has to do with like the enormous and magnificent rate of the things that the Chinese are doing right now. These men came under the radar. Where did they come from? They're everywhere now. Everything we use is made in China now, bro. They're just doing a madness, and it always and I'm always forced to believe. I always start thinking like, when we really deep it, yeah. A lot of people will say like, yeah, these man like what they do in their countries. Remember the whole when they were saying like China was saying like anybody that has more than, is it two children or two male children? I forgot what it was, more than two children or whatever, or two male children or whatever like that. They'd get killed and all this kind of stuff because the population was mad. All this madness, like children just getting killed. A lot of people always look at China and be like, yeah, China's so disgusting, or like, how can you live in such a country? Or they'll look at countries like North Korea, be like, how can you live in such a country? That country is like, the government is a wreck, is a mess, like the way they treat their people. Listen, I don't live in them countries. I live in the West. I live in England. And I can tell you for free, there's no way nobody in England can come and start talking about these other people and their countries and all this kind of stuff, bro. If England and the States and the West is so good, bro, and we are so amazing and we're liberal and we could do what the hell we like, bro, why are we going through so many problems, bro? Why is it that G7, the West, bruv, like, why is it they're falling down, bruv? Why is it they're scared of China and all these other countries, bro? Why is it places like China are the ones that have everything on smash now? Literally anything you buy, phones, whatever, even though iPhone is an American, you get me, Apple's an American company, where's the hardware made from? Where's it made in? Manufactured in China. Shein, Temu or Timu, whatever people say, all these things, where did they? It's from China. They're controlling everything on the smash. Even their smartphones that are coming out are becoming better than the West smartphones. Bro, they've got everything on smash. These Asian countries got everything on smash. These countries that we used to look at as third world countries, they have it on smash, bro. Not to talk about what they're doing in Africa as well. Do you know what I'm trying to say? The Caucasians, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, they came in on the African thing, when Africa, like, back in the day on a slavery thing, yeah, we're taking everything, blah, blah, blah. The Chinese, they've come on a more, what's that word? On a business savvy type vibe, on an industrialization type vibe, on a, yeah, I help you, you help me, you scratch my back, I scratch your back type vibe. Yeah, we're gonna help you build airports, we're gonna help you build infrastructure, all this stuff. All we want is this in return. Do you think people in Africa are not gonna be like, yeah, okay, cool? Obviously, we got corrupt man in Africa, in my country, Nigeria, especially, trying to say, but come on, you think if somebody came to your country, said they're gonna make your country better, but this is what we want in return, they're not gonna give it to them if they're not doing it in violence? obviously, talking about Africa is a different conversation for another time. Africa, we're just being tossed around like a side thing, just being tossed around. Europe, the West, America, whatever. Now China, now Asia, Russia, whatever. BRICS coming out now. All this madness, we're just being tossed aside. Africa, that's another conversation for another day. But I'm just talking about China and the things that they're doing. And this all, I started to think about this just based off of a game I saw. Because it's like, people might think, yeah, why is it talk about games and trying to link it to how mad China is? But it's like, it's just to show the different things that they are putting their hands in. If it's not oil, if it's not natural resources, if it's not airports, if it's not, you know, trying to say like technology, trying to say development, gaming. Soon one day, bro, they're gonna start doing series. They do have animations and that. Trying to say, but it's like all these things that the West have been doing, bro. Like these men are doing it on a bigger scale and a better scale. They're doing it without having to damage the minds of people. If you go to China, I don't know. This is just me asking. If you go to China, do you think there's going to be mad mental health issue or issues and rates and spikes and mental health, like illnesses and all this kind of stuff? People wanting to kill themselves, blah blah blah, like there is in the West. If this place is so good, like why is it that everything is tumbling down? Nations built on God tumbling down. They don't believe in God no more. Like there's so many things going wrong with the West. But when I look at China, I don't know if I live there, because when they look at black people, they're like, oh wow, black, oh nice hair. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't, all that stuff. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, and I won't even call it racism. Some people will say it's racist. I won't even call it racism. It's just they don't see that every day, so they're gonna look like, wow, it's new. But it's like, I wouldn't live there. Don't get me wrong, because there's not a lot of black people there. But it's like, are they really doing the wrong thing? They're doing things the right way, and they're doing it without harming anybody. When I say without harming anybody, obviously I don't know about the things that they get up to in closed doors, because obviously I know about, you know, Christians going through what they're going through in China, which is mad. Do you know what I'm trying to say? But they have their way of living, and their way of living, that's what they're going to stick to. And their country is getting better for it. Let's say their people, in a sense. Maybe I'm down, maybe I don't know too much, but from what I'm seeing, they're just going on a rise and they're doing amazing things. So, obviously, I went on ChatGPT. Where's my thing, bro? Oh my days, bro. I'm bugging out. I don't know what screen I'm using, man. That's crazy. But yeah, I went on ChatGPT. You know what I'm saying? I went on ChatGPT. And like, yeah. My screen bugging. So my thing's lagging. Sorry about that. So ChatGPT. What was this? So yeah. So like, when on ChatGPT, I like, these are some of the things that ChatGPT was showing me. And yeah, man. Like, look at this. So I asked the question, did China have a 100-year plan? Short answer, yeah, kind of, but not dramatic. You know, does it have an official 100-year plan? You know, like I said, there's no government title documented China's 100-year plan. China does have a long horizon, national goals up to 2049. You see that? So they got goals up to 2049, and then I think this is where people get their 100 years from. Do you know what I'm trying to say? China's Communist Party was founded in 1921. Their main long-term goal is 2049, the 100th anniversary of the People's Republic. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's probably where my friend got this 100-year plan from. And you can see their plans involve things like, you know, becoming fully developed, military modernization, global economic influence, which they are, technological leadership. Look at that, AI. Brother. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about all this Hong Kong stuff and that. Reduce independence on Western systems. They're doing that well. By 2049, China must be strong enough that no one can block China's rights. Bro, but we're in 2025, nobody's blocking China's rights, bro. Trying to say, fam, and you can see here, there were 100-year star visions outlined by leaders, you know, past leaders, especially Deng Xiaoping, you know, laid down multi-decade roadmaps, roughly grouped into, you know, different phases. Trying to say that. So obviously they've achieved this phase to the 2000s, from 1980, 100 millions out of poverty. They've done that. Achieved what? From 2000 to 2020, become a moderately prosperous society, which I believe they've done. They're now in phase 3, becoming a leading world power. And I think like they're already nearly there. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And it's like, yeah, man. It's crazy, bro. Like, it's actually very crazy. it's actually crazy to see the things that China have done. Jan's saying it's such a short amount, such a short space of time.